Guys, it's only Monday, and JoJo Siwa is peeing in a litter box. People are fleeing the United States, and the new chairman of the World Economic Forum doesn't want us to have swimming pools. Welcome back to The Brett Cooper Show. Now, if you guys have followed me for a while, you know that I am quite interested in JoJo Siwa. I think that she's a really interesting case study of a child star, woke ideology grabbing hold of somebody who for a while seemed like she really understood her audience and was trying to stay kid-friendly, but then obviously changed overnight and suddenly was grinding on stage and had a very, very weird 180 that she took. Anyway, she has just had a fascinating career to follow, but what she's doing right now might be her most insane venture yet. She is currently on Celebrity Big Brother, and yes, you heard that correctly, she's peeing in litter boxes, and she also just came out as non-binary and also as not a lesbian. Before we dive into this story though, make sure that you like this video, subscribe to The Brett Cooper Show if you've not already, and just as a reminder, I am hitting the road and going out on tour this spring, so if you want to see if I'm coming to a city near you and buy tickets, we have all of those at brettcooper.com, and if you want ad-free episodes, an exclusive personal newsletter just for you guys, and an advice video that is curated by your questions and your concerns, make sure to subscribe to Cooper Confidential. All right, so like I said, JoJo Siwa is currently on Celebrity Big Brother, and there's been a lot of hubbub surrounding JoJo, and it really started with an interaction that she had with a fellow cast member, Mickey Rourke. Mickey was making jokes about JoJo being a lesbian. They were sort of good-natured. It seemed like an old guy who was kind of out of touch and definitely politically incorrect, and he was like, "Are you really a lesbian?" And she was like, "Yeah, I have a girlfriend," and he was kind of making jokes about that. He was like, "I'm gonna vote the lesbian out." And then what really set people off is that he made a joke about the cigarettes. Or did he? Or was it about JoJo Siwa? That is the entire controversy, but because he used the word fag around JoJo Siwa, he ended up getting voted out of the house. Actually, I don't think he got voted out. I think he literally got kicked out by Big Brother. And this entire situation has caused JoJo Siwa to rethink her identity, to rethink her sexual identity specifically. And so now, just a couple of weeks later, she is making waves on social media by saying that she thinks she might actually be non-binary. Take a listen to this video.
And then recently I've had my partner, this best friend, and through them I've also met 20 people who are identified as non-binary, which is just like, I'm not that, so I just am. I don't know, it's, I feel like them, you know what I mean? I feel like that group of people.
Right, just like you're just who you are.
I just am, I just exist. I just don't want to say it and then realize that it's not and take away from people who are.
I mean, what even is this conversation? I love trash TV, but this is even too far for me. I'm just me. I'm who I am. Everybody is. You literally don't need a label. You can just be JoJo and like who you like. You don't have to jump around and attach labels and be like, maybe I am this year, maybe I should be. It's exhausting. And people were immediately jumping on this quote saying, oh my gosh, she just came out as non-binary, and also equating her to Demi Lovato because Demi Lovato had a whole moment where she was non-binary, and then basically later on she was like, actually, I don't really know if I'm non-binary. That was just kind of a moment in time. So people are saying that that's probably what is going to happen with JoJo. But even though she's saying that she's not really ready to label herself as non-binary, even though she feels that that might be where she lands, she is ready to say that she is actually not a lesbian. And instead of identifying as lesbian, she is ready, this is so profound, so powerful, she is ready to identify as queer. Take a listen.
I feel so queer, you know what I mean? Queer. But that's I've never
we're not living in a world that's designed for JoJo.
That's what I think I've always told myself I'm a lesbian, but I think being here, I realized, oh no, I'm not lesbian, I'm queer.
You are?
And I think that's really cool.
You are?
I'm switching letters!
You're a queer bitch.
Fuck the hell, I'm going to the Q!
You are a Q, honey.
That's what she loves about sexual identity, that on a random Tuesday on Celebrity Big Brother, she can say, F the L, I'm a Q, and just change it at a drop of a hat. Now, granted, I don't truly understand all the differences. I mean, I sort of do. I think the difference that I don't get, that I genuinely have tried to understand, is the difference between bisexual and then queer, because queer is more all-encompassing, and when you read articles about it, it's like queer is the politicized version. Queer means that you're in the community, you're fighting for progressive sexual identity politics, that's part of the MO, and a lot of people don't really want to identify as that. And a lot of people do want to identify as that because they're obviously part of a community. I don't really know what's going on with JoJo Siwa, but she had this epiphany on Celebrity Big Brother. And of course, because it's 2025, nothing can happen on social media without offending a different group of people. And right now, the lesbians are not happy. One person said, I was right all along when I said JoJo Siwa wasn't a lesbian. She's now come out as queer and said, F the L, I'm going to the Q. So not only was she a fake lesbian, she is also saying F lesbians. I keep telling y'all, these so-called lesbian celebs can't be trusted. So the lesbians, the L's, now feel completely and utterly betrayed by this person who had been propped up as a gay icon. I don't know if you guys remember, JoJo Siwa literally went on Ellen in 2021 in a rainbow jacket and was like, yes, I'm a gay icon. The lesbian icon is lesbian no longer. Now, the other interesting part about this story is that, yes, this comes on the heel of the Mickey Rourke situation where she's having to navigate this trauma and this homophobia that she experienced. But what I think is more interesting and what might have driven this whole little transition is that she has been having a bit of a flirtationship with a different cast member. A cast member who is a male. And also what you need to know about this is that JoJo Siwa, like she said in one of those clips, has a girlfriend, her partner, at home who is watching the show live. So she is watching JoJo Siwa have all of these epiphanies about her sexual identity and how she identifies and be literally snuggling in bed with a man. Take a look. She's literally slinking into bed with this man, Chris. Canoodling. They had this whole back and forth that people were saying was triggering because he was like, come to bed with me. And she was like, no, I can't. And was rolling away from him. And then she kept saying, yes, please come. She was like, okay, I guess I can. And people were saying that he was being creepy and weird, but obviously she was feeding into it. That just seems like she's playing hard to get. And obviously she wants it because she's climbing into bed with him. There are multiple videos across multiple nights of them literally, here he is stroking
when I was sleeping.
Her bare back. And her girlfriend is at home watching all of this. Her girlfriend who made this whole public display of saying, I'm going to be watching JoJo every single day. I'm going to be live tweeting and posting about it. Oop. Since she started canoodling in bed, that girlfriend has not posted. She has not posted since April 11th. So it could be that she's canoodling with this man and now has decided that she's not a lesbian, or crazy thought, it could be that this girlfriend is so horrified that JoJo is literally on camera peeing in a litter box.
I really need a wee. Is this bad? Can you block the door?
Yeah.
And then I'll have a little wee. Don't tell anyone I've weed though, all right?
Go for it.
Well, wait a minute, because you're giving me stage fright.
Well, close your eyes.
Close my eyes. Now they do this, don't they?
Yeah, you have to cover it.
What the hell is this show?
Good?
Yeah.
I feel better now.
I'm just gonna, okay.
Oh my god. Oh, this is so horrifying.
Set.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Yes.
I would break up with somebody over that. That probably is why her girlfriend has not posted since April 11th, because she's squatting over kitty litter. This is literally insane. She is peeing in cat litter with the guy that she's flirting with after she's just come out as not a lesbian and non-binary. Okay guys, I am popping in for a selfie video post-filming update because I told you my spidey senses were telling me that this relationship would not last. How could this work if she was canoodling with this man on camera? So lo and behold, today the news broke that she and her girlfriend have officially broken up. Her girlfriend flew all the way out to London for the wrap party of Celebrity Big Brother, and they broke up. Take a listen to her video.
And I flew across the world to support and be there and hold that person in whatever they would be experiencing, leaving such a wild experience. And instead, I was dumped at the after party with Chris in the next room.
I mean, if I was JoJo Siwa, I would literally be fleeing the country after this, which honestly is a trend that is happening right now, spearheaded by none other than Rosie O'Donnell, which is the next story that we need to talk about. If you guys have followed Trump at all over the last, I don't even know how many years, you know that there is one person that he feuds with more than anyone else in the entire world, and that would be Rosie O'Donnell. These two individuals hate each other more than words can really describe. And Rosie O'Donnell, after Trump was elected in November, decided that now was the time that she was going to flee the country. You just need to listen to her announcement because she made the plan to do this with her family therapist, of course. This is what she needed for her mental health.
Yes, as you know, some people entertain the idea of moving abroad after the 2024 election. You actually did it. Tell us about your experience so far, and do you have any regrets?
I have no regrets. Not a day has gone by that I thought it was the wrong decision. I was welcomed with open arms. I knew after reading Project 2025 that if Trump got in, it was time for me and my non-binary child to leave the country. And although I was not one of the celebrities who announced that that's what I would do, I made the decision within my family and my therapist, and should he win. And then when he did, we made the plan into action, and we were gone before he was inaugurated.
Good for you, Rosie O'Donnell. And she was. She left the country on January 15th. She slipped out just in time before all of her rights were taken away, before all the rights of her non-binary child were stripped away by the big, scary, looming Project 2025. So sorry, Rosie O'Donnell, that you had to endure the thought of Project 2025. I mean, if feeling safe and comfortable was the goal, then all she needed to do was get her some Cozy Earth pajamas. Now, you guys know that there is very little that I love more than being horizontal in bed, especially in my Cozy Earth pajamas, which I am wearing right now. No joke, guys. Their bamboo stretch pajamas are the softest pajamas I have ever worn. I have basically lived in them ever since I got them, and so do my mom and my mother-in-law. Cozy Earth was kind enough to send them both pajamas for Mother's Day, and they have been a major hit. From cooking Easter breakfast last week to farm chores in Idaho with my mom to movie nights, these pajamas fit the bill for basically everything. So if you want to give your mom or yourself the gift of breathable, soft comfort this spring, just go to CozyEarth.com and use my code Brett to get 40% off your order. And to make it even better, to celebrate moms everywhere this weekend only, May 2nd to 4th, Cozy Earth is giving the Cooper Troopers a special promo. Buy one, get one free on these bamboo pajamas. Just use code BrettBogo at checkout to redeem. Again, that's code Brett, B-O-G-O, for this weekend only on these pajamas. And if you miss it, do not worry, because you can still use code Brett for 40% off your entire order. Now, back to this story. The other thing that I have thought is hysterical about the whole Rosie O'Donnell fleeing the country is the fact that she keeps saying that she has been welcomed with open arms. She feels so free. Ireland is so incredible. Well, that might be the case with the people that she has interacted with, but the Irish on social media are not as pleased with Big Rosie. I shouldn't say Big Rosie. Based on what I have seen on social media, many Irish are not thrilled about this new addition to their country. Just take a watch.
Rosie O'Donnell has just moved to Ireland. How do you feel about her coming to Ireland?
I'm pretty disgusted, to be honest. I'm fully aware of the housing situation here, and for someone to come to our country to hide from the President of the United States, they're very not welcome here.
I mean, it's pretty hysterical. It's pretty friggin' hysterical, especially knowing the long-standing feud between Rosie and Trump. Like, of course she would leave. And again, I'm kind of glad that she put some action behind her words, and she wasn't just saying, I'm gonna leave, and then never actually did, because she has no problems, and Trump is not really destroying the country, and she would not have lost any rights, but the fact that she actually did it. Like, Ellen similarly did that. She kept saying, I'm gonna leave, and she actually frickin' did it. And people in the UK have similarly not been very excited about this. They've basically been saying, please, we know we gave you James Corden, but we didn't ask for this. Like, let's swap. Let's just end this once and for all. But interestingly, it's not just Rosie O'Donnell and Ellen who have fled the country. Another one of our favorites is trying to make a permanent move to the UK, and that would be our good friend Dylan Mulvaney. Dylan is wanting to leave and wanting to live in the UK permanently because apparently the people are kinder there. Dylan loves the theater scene in the West End, loves the candy shops and all of the food. And guys, this is just like hilarious, ironic timing, because Dylan is saying all of this at the same time, like immediately after the UK just ruled that trans women, like Dylan, do not fit into the legal definition of what a woman is. And it reminds me of something that Dylan did back in 2023, and this was when Dylan took an extended vacation to escape the bigotry and the transphobia of the US and ended up going to Peru for about a month. And the entire time that Dylan was there, just could not stop talking about how wonderful Peru was, how safe it was for trans people, how inclusive it was. Meanwhile, Peru does not even have same-sex marriage. Take a listen to Dylan's TikTok.
Okay, surprise, I'm in Peru. And I'm at Machu Picchu.
I want to go to Machu
This is
Picchu.
just so beautiful. I came here to feel something. You know what I mean? And I definitely have. I've done shaman ceremonies that were like 10 years worth of therapy. It was wild. I've seen a lot of llamas, and the people here are so kind. I feel very safe here. It's a little sad that I had to leave my country to feel safe, but that will get better eventually.
Left a country where you have more freedoms to go to a country where you technically would have fewer freedoms in order to feel safe. And now 2 years later, you have decided that you want to move to a country where your identity as a woman is not recognized as womanhood. And I mean, we just have to laugh at all of this because it simply proves that this victimhood is made up. It is in your own head. You have cultivated it. You have created a whole mindset of this idea that people are constantly after you, that you have to run away to feel safe. Meanwhile, you're going to places that, like, legally are less safe, if you want to say that for you. I mean, it's just bananas. And the other thing that is just so ironic about this story is the podcast that Dylan went on to talk about how amazing Peru was and how awful the United States was none other than Rosie O'Donnell's podcast. I mean, it really, like, this was just dropped in my lap. It was so freaking perfect. I mean, these are two people who are living in delusions when it comes to their safety and their perceived victimhood. But you know what? Hey, listen, whatever makes them happy. If Dylan wants to move to the UK to do theater, if Rosie wants to be in Ireland, like, I'm not crying over this because it's not like we're losing our best and brightest. Like, it's Rosie, it's Dylan. It's the congressional staffer that was getting railed in the Senate hearing room. And yes, he has also fled the country. Now, if you guys remember this story from last year, there was a young man who made the unfortunate decision to get railed in a Senate hearing room, which is where he was working. And this sexual encounter was filmed, and it was posted online, and obviously it went mega viral. He lost his job, chaos ensued, and what do you know? Aiden also fled the country. Aiden left shortly after his little sex scandal and moved to Sydney after he had had a brief stint in a psych ward. And he gave an interview to the Gay Sydney News about all of this. You just have to hear what he said. He said, quote, "Mentally, I spent a little bit in the psych ward after the fact because it was just so overwhelming to realize and to know that tens of millions of people literally despise you. Everyone in DC knew me, and it was kind of gross and horrifying." That's important because I'm not someone who likes to be in the public spotlight at all. Okay, so just to break down this entire statement here, the problem wasn't the fact that people knew who you were and despised you. The problem was the fact that you chose to have sex at your place of work. And it was filmed, which really doesn't make it any better or worse. It just obviously illuminated the entire situation and it went viral. And everybody saw your terrible, terrible mistake. This thing that you should not have done. You should not be having sex at your place of work, especially when you work in Congress. So mentally, I think that you need to evaluate why you thought that was appropriate in the first place and why you chose to play the victim after the fact. Because if you guys remember last year, he was like, I am just being attacked by all these people. It's homophobia. It's not homophobia. If it was a man and a woman, we would have the same response. It is completely inappropriate. It is literally crazy that you are having sex in a Senate hearing room. But guys, according to him and the Gay Sydney News, he wants us all to know that that is all behind him because he is now very happy in Sydney, where he has started a career with OnlyFans. Yes, he hates attention. He hates being in the spotlight. It's horrifying. It's disgusting. But he is using his one horrifying, terrifying, awful, homophobic claim to fame to sell his body and get attention online after being humiliated and fired. And I mean, he literally went so far as to change his Instagram handle to, quote, Senate Twink.
Bruh.
Now, in case you missed this story, last week, RFK and the FDA announced their plan to phase out artificial food dyes in the United States and replace them with natural dyes. And the specifics on this are that they are revoking citrus red 2 and orange B very soon, which are the FD&C green number 3, red number 40, that's a big one, yellow number 5, yellow number 6, blue number 1, and blue number 2 by the end of 2026. So right now, you can't go to the supermarket and buy a bag of Cheez-Its and not have any food dyes in there, but maybe, hopefully by 2026, you will be able to. And on top of all of this, they are also approving 4 new natural color additives soon and are speeding up the process of creating others to try and replace these artificial dyes. And then in addition to even that, they are also teaming up with the NIH to study food additives' effects on kids' health to really get to the root of this problem. And this might just be the most important part because people need to understand the real effects of the food that we have all been eating for decades. And it's fine to just, blindly trust RFK Jr. and hope that he's doing the right things, but I would rather have all of the information so that I can make an informed decision and be able to understand the lies that we have been told about our health, about our food for decades. And what is so upsetting about all of this, and what is almost laughable at this point, is the fact that the US is so behind on all of this. If you look at countries from around the world, there are so many ingredients that we eat every single day that are cornerstones of the American diet that are banned around the world because they are so unhealthy, because of the negative effects, whether it be in terms of hyperactivity in kids, whether it is linked to cancer, you name it. Other countries are taking action, and we have just been sitting here twiddling our fingers, letting big food run the show. And so in light of all of that, one thing that people are doing on social media and have been for the last week is that they're posting photos of American food versus food in other countries where these dyes are actually regulated and restricted, and the differences are genuinely shocking. Take a look at this. This one is Fruit Loops here. The top one is the European Fruit Loops where toxic food dyes are banned, and then the bottom one, which is vibrant and colorful and fruity, is dyed with the toxic artificial dyes that are now being banned. I mean, it's the difference is insane. Another example people have been posting are the M&Ms and other types of candies in countries where these dyes are banned. Obviously, they're still colorful. They're just not as vibrant and toxic, which goes hand in hand, as our American candy. And one thing that I want to say here, because I think it is so important, is that you should not wait for the government to come in and ban these ingredients. You should not be waiting until 2026 to start making healthier or better choices. You should not just keep blindly buying the M&Ms knowing that they might change by 2026. No, you need to take accountability for your health now. If this is something that you are concerned about, you have autonomy. You can make different choices in terms of the food that you eat and the food that you bring home and stock your fridge with for your family. And even though we have a couple of years until this is probably going to be in effect, this is still a big win for all of the Maha voters that threw their support behind Trump for this exact reason. And hopefully this can bridge some of the ideological divides that we have been experiencing in our country, because this truly is a bipartisan issue. This should be a nonpartisan decision unless you are somebody who just has Trump derangement syndrome or RFK derangement syndrome. I mean, even in California, with all of its issues, back in October of 2023, Newsom signed the California Food Safety Act, which banned red dye number 3 and other additives from food sold statewide. Obviously, this is not in effect yet. It takes a couple of years. It will be effective by 2027. But California is on the front lines of this. And for once, this is actually being reflected in the media. For example, when you look at Ground News, the coverage is not coming exclusively from the left or the right. It is coming from the middle. And being able to figure this out is why I love Ground News. Ground News cuts through the noise and provides an unbiased perspective and shows both sides of every story, prioritizing honesty over everything. Their unique technology even allows users to compare how different sides of the corporate media are reporting on a story like you saw here, making sure that we see all sides and truly stay informed. And from my perspective as a creator, they make sure that I stay on top of the stories I'm covering so that I can bring you the latest and most honest updates. Now, in addition to that, Ground News' blind spot feed is also incredible, and it brings you the stories that might have gotten little to no coverage, making sure that you always stay informed, instead of letting big tech or their algorithms decide what you see, which happens more often than you'd think. So if you are ready to truly break free from media bias and stay informed with transparent news consumption, now is the time to join Ground News. And when you go to groundnews.com/Brett or scan the QR code on the screen, you can get the same premium plan that I use, but for nearly half the price. That is groundnews.com/Brett if you want to get unbiased news and hold the media accountable for only $5 a month. So truly, based on everything that we're seeing in the news and based on what I know, this is genuinely a bipartisan issue. I mean, look at California. With all of its problems, California has actually been on the front lines of this issue for years. I mean, back in October of 2023, Gavin Newsom signed the California Food Safety Act, which banned red dye 3 and many other additives from food sold statewide. Obviously, this is not effective yet, but it will be effective in 2027. He later expanded this to be the California School Food Safety Act, which he signed in September of last year, so a year after that, which banned 6 synthetic dyes, blue 1, blue 2, green 3, red 40, yellow 5, yellow 6, from public school meals. And this passed with massive bipartisan support, and the reasoning was the major behavioral concerns stemming from these ingredients. Everybody on both sides was able to come together because we care about children, because we care about our health, and that should be what we are focusing on with this new legislation, with what RFK and what the FDA are wanting to do with these ingredients. So if you go online and you, God forbid, see people chugging bottles of red dye 40 on TikTok or whatever it is, just know these are outliers, these are idiots, and they would rather give themselves cancer or hyperactivity than admit that a Trump appointee is doing something good. And while I am almost always the first person to say that what Trump is doing is good, there was a proposed policy from last week that I do think misses the mark. And that would be his proposed solution to fixing the declining birth rate. So obviously, as you guys probably know, we are facing a major population decline. This is happening globally, but we are facing it here in the United States as well. And since his campaign was started, Trump has said that he would get into office and he would work on turning this around around and trying to implement pro-family policies. And since then, his team has been dropping hints about what they're considering and how to actually put this into motion. And the big one from last week that they ended up putting in the New York Times was a $5,000 baby bonus. So mothers would receive a one-time payment for having a baby. And I just think that this is a ridiculous idea. Like, I get the intention behind it, but you can't evaluate policy based on the intentions. You have to think about how it will actually play out in our economy and in our society. And considering the fact that raising a child costs at least $20,000, and that is on the conservative low end, a one-time $5,000 payment is just not going to cut it. Like, that is not incentive enough to have people be procreating and starting families. Plus, we literally just saw 5 years ago how all of those stimulus checks worked out. Like, it drained our economy. It made no lasting impact on the financial situation of Americans that were hurting during COVID. And this idea is basically just welfare, but rebranded as Republican pro-family welfare. And also, on top of all of that, it has been tried in other countries time and time again. Other people have had the same idea, which is a good idea. Like, the intention is there, I understand it, but it just doesn't work. For example, in this one article, they said other countries have tried direct payments to parents. Russia began offering a one-time sum of about $7,000 to families with more than 2 kids, while Italy and Greece have experimented with per-child baby bonuses. In 2019, Hungary introduced a loan of around $30,000. That's a lot better than $5,000, just saying, to newlyweds. If they have 3 children, then that $30,000 loan is forgiven. From loans to speeches about traditional values, government efforts have generally failed to make much of an impact on people's childbearing decisions. They may shift the timing of the childbirth, but they don't ultimately affect the number of kids people have, says a professor from Johns Hopkins University. And the same goes for the Asian countries that have also tried to reverse their declining birth rates. I mean, they've tried everything from cash payments to subsidies for childcare to payment for IVF, which is another thing that the Trump admin has proposed. And again, it just hasn't worked. So it's not that I am against what Trump is doing because I don't like him or I'm so angry. It's just, I don't think this is logical. And time again, when people are reflecting on these policies and why they haven't been effective, people cite that it is the gender inequality and the demands at work that hold them back from having kids, which women say go hand in hand for them, and the lack of marriageable partners. So it isn't really that they need $5,000 or $7,000 right after they have a baby. Now, obviously, this created major waves on social media, and a lot of people took issue with Trump's idea on the left and the right. I think everybody's just kind of having this big conversation together. But one person who I know personally went particularly viral for his response. This is what Matt Walsh had to propose. He said, policy should drastically favor families with children. Married couples with kids under the age of 18 should not have to pay any income tax, just for starters. Raise taxes on single moms and couples with no kids to make up the difference. Now, I agree with part of what Matt Walsh is saying. Like, I am far more intrigued with the idea of tax breaks for families. I mean, that would actually make life easier for people who feel financially strained at work. But raising taxes on single mothers, I just think that would absolutely backfire, especially if you are excluding single fathers from that scenario. And considering the nuance of that issue and how emotional it is and how people become single parents, I just don't think that that's right or that it would really work long term. And again, all the evaluations have to be how this would actually play out in our economy and in our society. So then we have to ask, like, is there actually a solution to this? Now, interestingly, when you look at all the statistics and the facts surrounding this issue, the birth rate for married couples in America hasn't declined. It has actually remained steady for decades, except for a little blip in the 2020 to 2024 range when the economy was just such a mess. So it seems like the problem is less about people not wanting to have kids and more about people not getting married. And I'm not sure if that is a problem that the government can fix. I mean, South Korea has tried throwing money at young couples to go out on dates to get married, and again, that is also just not working. And similarly to America, men and women in South Korea are incredibly ideologically split right now. They are not meeting in the middle. They do not want to marry each other. And so while I do believe that there are circumstances where government can influence culture, I'm not sure if stepping in here in this way with the $5,000 bonus will actually help. And the culture certainly won't change if the messenger looks like this. Now, I do have to apologize for the jump scare because I know that that was shocking and horrifying, and this is not somebody that is pushing pro-family policies in the US or trying to figure out how to make us all have babies, but this man is the new interim chairman of the World Economic Forum, so like it or not, he will be influencing our lives. And I hate it already, and weirdly, there is some crossover with the Kardashians in his story. Now, the way that this all transpired is that Klaus Schwab, who famously has run the World Economic Forum for the last, I don't even know how many decades, he resigned resigned last week to thunderous applause from across the globe, and he and the World Economic Forum, WEF, they initially tried to play off this resignation as if he was just stepping down and retiring, and they're so grateful for him, and he's like, oh yes, I'm moving on to new endeavors, all of that stuff. But all of that fluff lasted all of 24 hours because then they promptly launched an investigation into Klaus Schwab on the basis of corruption. Shock of the century. This article says the whistleblower letter allegedly sent by current and former staff accuses Schwab of financial misconduct, including misuse of WEF funds and inappropriate treatment of employees. This was reported by the Wall Street Journal on Tuesday, and they also said that his wife, Hilda Schwab, is also accused of using WEF resources for personal travel. Schwab has strongly denied all the claims the Wall Street Journal reported. But the thing is, when you just think about Klaus Schwab, when you think about his family, what we know about him, what we know about his goals for the World Economic Forum, and the role that his family has played in infiltrating American politics, none of this would surprise me. I don't think that this is a man that lives above board at all, so again, not surprised at all. And this is probably just a good reminder that when you are evaluating the news, you should just know that somebody stepping down or walking away isn't always what it seems, because people did think that this was a new day, that it was just Klaus Schwab retiring, riding off into the sunset, a kick in the knees for the globalists. But his replacement, as you guys saw, looks even more sinister. Now that man, his name is Peter, he is the former CEO of Nestle, and he believes that access to water should be regulated. Just take a listen.
There are apparently some misconceptions about my ideas on water. Let me make it clear from the beginning. I have always supported the human right to water. Everyone should have enough clean, safe water to meet their fundamental daily needs. About 50 to 100 liters per day. But not to fill a pool or wash a car. There is a difference.
So he believes in our free access to water, our right to water, but not really. Because there is a limit to how much he wants us to have. If we want to have a pool, nope, we can't have that. If we want to wash our car regularly, if you're somebody like my husband who loves going to the car wash, who basically goes to the car wash as therapy like 3 times a week, nope, not allowed. You have reached your daily limit. So it's enough to drink and maybe take a daily shower, but not enough to do any of those things. Now, unsurprisingly, because this is usually how it works, Peter, he lives in a mansion. He has a couple mansions, and they all have huge pools. So once again, it is rules for thee and not for me. And WEF, we know, they say that they want us to own nothing and be happy by 2030, which apparently includes access to free water. And all of this reminds me of the Kardashian water scandal from 2022. If you guys remember that story, the Kardashians and other celebrities in their area went over their quote-unquote water allowance in the LA suburb of Calabasas, and so the government came in and installed flow restriction devices, which were able to turn off showers and landscape sprinklers and all different types of things in private residences. I mean, if they can do that to the likes of Kim Kardashian and Kevin Hart and Sylvester Stallone, they can do that to you and me. And it seems like this man is totally fine with that happening. No more pools, no more washing your cars. You can just have enough to drink, and that is free human rights. That's great. That is full access to water. That is the future that the new interim chair of the World Economic Forum sees for all of us. So with all of that, I think that you guys are effectively caught up on the news of this week and last week. And just to recap, what we all learned today is that sexuality isn't just fluid, it is liquid, like the water we will not be able to use. Rosie O'Donnell is wanted truly nowhere, and the villain from Austin Powers is alive and well. Let's try this again. Where were you born? Montana. I've got the birth tag if you need it. Raised? Nebraska. Grazed on open pasture. Processed? The plant is Texas, a USDA-approved facility. It's a clean cut. Literally. You sure about that? Because a lot of so-called American meat is actually born overseas. Frozen, then slapped with a red, white, and blue sticker that makes it look legit. I'm not some imported imposter, okay? I'm 100% American, horn to hoof. You're not lying to me, are you? No, sir. I steer clear of that. All right. You check out. 100% born, raised, and processed in America. Delivered to your door, no imports, no imposters. Good Ranchers, American meat delivered.